Today, we are coming to look to prepare a study area map. Preparation of study area map in research activities is very significant in aiding academic dissertation, presentation, or write-ups. Once we have started a couple of activities on how to execute them using QGIS, it is also relevant that we study how to prepare a study area map once we are all in the academic field and also in various professional programs. It will be very interesting and very important for us to look at them. So, when we are talking about study area maps, we are talking about maps that will help you to contextualize your study. It helps you to present or delineate the boundaries of your research area. That helps your readers and stakeholders to understand where the study is being focused. So that is one of the relevance of a study area map, and that makes it very necessary for us to prepare a study area map whenever we are writing an academic dissertation. Well, the second relevance of preparation of a study area map is to help visualize what you are coming to present. So it presents a clarity and communication. Maps are very relevant when it comes to data visualization. So if you are executing a particular study that is very difficult to present, maps make it more easier by making sure that complex spatial relationship and geometric context are well provided in a multidisciplinary way so that your audience can be able to go through your study and have a concise understanding of what you are trying to present. It also supports data collection and analysis. Maps guides field work by identifying key locations, sample points, or zones of interest. So once you are going to execute a study, wherever you are selecting as your study area where you are going to enumerate your data, maps helps you to carry out those places very proficiently and let your data shown on your maps so that everyone can be able to go through it and understand what you intend doing and what has caused the selection of the study area. So another thing is it helps in the presentation of data. So let's assume that after collecting your data from the field, maybe identifying um, being able to enumerate some population data in the community, you can overlay it with other spatial data that will help you to easily analyze spatial patterns, trends, and also anomalies that might not be evident in tabular or contextual data. So that is one other significance of study area maps preparation. And that makes it very relevant whenever it is time or it is due for us to write our academic dissertations or thesis to be able to complete our programs of study. So these are some relevance that that we should try to consider and makes it necessary for us to try and do a study area map. It is also relevant to note that it improves your research credibility, including a well-crafted study area map demonstrates thoroughness and professionalism, which can enhance the credibility and replicability of your study. That is, someone being able to replicate your study to be able to confirm the results that you have been able to come out with from your study. It also facilitates comparative studies. It facilitates comparative studies. MAP allows for easy comparison between different study areas over time. So once you have been able to prepare a map for a particular area, it helps you to make a comparative analysis of a place over time. So let's say that in 2015 you were able to conduct a particular study in a particular geographical area, and in 2025 or 2030, someone also goes to do a study there, or you also goes to do another study over there, you will be able to identify some spatial variations within the year period. And that is one of the significance of map preparation using any of the softwares because be it QGIS or ArcMap, you are able to do all these things. So now let's head over to look into our training data where we have study area map preparation step files. So we are going to prepare a study area map that will contextualize Ghana as our study area. So we are going to look at it in a world perspective, in the African continent perspective, then to our final study area, which will be in the rural part. Now, I am already on my QGIS, so I just head over to my browser, then I search for where my data is. So my own is on my desktop, that is just visual ideas. So I go to click it to expand the the folders that I have in there. Then I also have my study area map folder here with all my shapes. So I already have my Africa shape file, I have my Ghana, I have world as well. So what I'm going to do is to just to pull them into my wiki area. All right. So I have everything in place now. I have my world data, I have Ghana data, then I also have my African data or African context. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make sure that everything falls in context because all the data we are looking at, they are all supposed to be in one place. They are all supposed to be in the same context as in the world perspective because we can see Africa here and we can also see Ghana over there, right? So one thing we first will need to do is to make sure that once we are looking at a world data or world data, we need to make sure that we have a projection in WGS 84, which will give us a broader perspective rather than using the projected format or projected CRS. So now if we go to click on WGS 84, which is here, so you realize that it covers the whole area that is covering the entire world, which is previewed here. So now if you also come and take UTMs on 13 off, you realize that it's projected only in Ghana. So if we want to incorporate our data together, we wouldn't be able to have that. So for instance, if you come to the work area to check out, you realize that all the shapefiles loaded are having different colors. All of them are having different colors. So you see that the world data is having a particular kind of light, or let me say, kind of deep gray color. Yes. And Ghana too is having a yellowish color, while Africa, let me change it to a more flexible color. So you go to symbology, then you go to simple fill, then you change it to something blue so that it can be well and it can be seen clearly. So now we need to rearrange our shape files in the layer panel so that we can be able to see them, because if you have the world data on top, that means that it's definitely going to cover other shape files. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to make sure that we have them world arranged. Now we go to look for all the shape files. So if you realize that, you can see that Ghana is not in place because it's having a yellowish color. And when you even uncheck Africa where it is supposed to be, then also uncheck the world data, Ghana is not lying as where it's supposed to be. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to use the correct um, coordinate reference systems so that we'll be able to have everything in place. So now we go to our projections, then we go to WGS 84 so that we have a walkthrough. All right. So now what we're going to do is that let's try to see as to whether our world data is in UTM zone 13 off or not. So if you come to check, you realize that it is in a projected form, which is helpful. So now we go to change it to WGS 84. All right, so we do the same thing to Africa. So it's also in projected. So we change it to world before. Okay. So after changing them, you realize that they are not in the work area where they were before. So now if we go to zoom to layer, we can see them here. And now because Ghana is, so let's just try to confirm from this as well. So Ghana is projected, and when you look at the projected CRS, coordinate reference system at the workspace area, you realize that projected was passing through Ghana. So that is why we have it over there. All right. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to now create a new print layout where we are going to put the various data into various um, data frames. So that is what we are going to do now. So we go to project, then we go and create a new print layout. So now we type maybe CD, CD area map. So, so already we have our previous element. So now that this is print new layout. So now we are going to add borders to it so that we can be able to have it well designed to communicate like a professional map. All right. So now we try to add some more boundaries. So we pick add rectangle. Okay, so we allow some allowances at the edges. Okay, but this seems to be equally close. So we plug them. This is so back small. Okay, we see this one as well. This one as well. Then we bring this. Okay, this is this. Okay. All right. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to add our maps. So now what we're going to do is that we are going to switch between the project working area and then also between the print new layouts that we've created, which is the study area map of Ghana. So now what we are going to do is to switch back to the main work area. Then, all right, that is where we are now. So now we are going to uncheck the world data and middle of Africa, leaving only Ghana there. Okay, so we are going to add Ghana. We're going to add Ghana. So now Ghana is left over there, right? So now let's go to our print layout. Okay. So now we are going to add our maps. We are going to add, so you go and click on add item, you add map. So you leave some allowance so that when we want to draw coordinates, we'll have them over there. Okay. So now you come and click on the move contents. All right, so we have Ghana over there. We can still try to increase it a little bit. So now what we can do is to add the other maps. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to switch to the main project area where we are having the maps or where the maps are drawn before we are sending them to the print layout. Okay, so we are going to go over the main project area. Okay, so with this, we can even add labels to the various regions. So let's add label. We go to label, single label, then you have your regions shown. Okay, so once the regions are shown, now if you go to the print preview, it will be there. That's the print new layout. It's going to be available over there as well. So now what we are going to do is to switch over to the print layout. The print layout. So now we are going to lock the first frame so that we can be able to add the other ones without having challenges or without encountering any problem. Okay. All right. So you come to the item properties, then you see lock layer. Then after locking layer, then it will activate lock styles for layer. So we lock all of them. Now we are going to add the other maps. We're going to add the other maps. So now you have to go back to your main project area. Then you can be able to continue working on them. So now, once we've locked it, we can off it, then we on the world data. All right. So once we on the world data, we go to steady area map of Ghana. That is the print layout. So now we go to add map. Okay. So we draw over where we are going to have our map so that it will be added. Well, it's added. So now to make things more easier, let's go to add a frame to it so that it can be very simple like this. Then you come and click and move the frame upwards a little bit. Okay, so now what is left for us is to reduce the size of the map so that we have a scale at which we can be able to see it. All right. Okay. So we can see our map here. So now what we can need to do again is to make sure that we lock the layer so that we can have it over there without affecting the other maps. So we lock it and we lock the layers over there. We lock the layer and we've also done same for the styles for the layer. So now what we are going to do is to add the other. So we go to our project area, go to our project area. Well, so we've gone back to our project area. So now what we are left to do is to make sure we off the world data and check in that of Africa. Okay. So once that has been done, we also need switch back to the print layout. Okay, to the print layout. Then we go and add map. Right. So we try to increase the size of the map so that we can have it well visualized. Okay, so this is fine. So now let's try to add frame to it so that we can clearly show it boundaries. All right, now we come to not temporal range, we go back to the main properties, then we lock the layer as well. Right. So now let's add a boundary to the Ghana map as well. So a frame has been successfully added to it. So now what we want to do is make sure that we now add some few map features. All right, so we can so once we want to edit it, let's go and let's go back. All right, so let's add our north arrow. The north arrow, you can always choose the one you want. There are so many of them, so you can always choose the one you want. All right, so let's go to um, item properties. You'll be able to see a couple of them over there. But what is already there is okay for me. But in case you want to change your own, there are a lot of them over here. You can stretch over your map, then you can see them. You can use them to work in your map if you want. All right, so let me drag this a little bit. Okay, need something like this. All right, so now I will go to add my skill bar. Skill bar. All right, so you can switch between if you want a single box, double box, you can use it. So I want a double box. Then I scroll down. If you want to change the pillar, that's the scale bar units. You can do that at the side if you want it to be in feet, miles, centimeters, or inches. So that is where you can do that. Now, if you also want to increase the segment, that is increasing the length in terms of the long and then short aspects of the scale. This is where you do it. Then you can stretch it over. Once you stretch, you can increase it to the number you want. So let me say I want the race have about 5 long segments over here. Right. So my skill bar is ready. So now what I want to do is to add grades to this study area map, which is very important. So to add grades, what you need to do is, so first of all, let's try to name them in terms of context so that we can have them. So you come to add and add, just try to add labels if you want. So you can just write here as the world context. Context. Okay. So once you have world context over there, you can try to change the font. Yes, you can change the font. So this way you can change the case if you want to. So Times New Roman text in font size. Points. Okay. Right. Those I don't want to create any font. Just click the values. So you go back. Then you can further continue to determine some few activities. So preference method. Okay. So this is going to be your world context. World context. And says times round times round to use times New Roman. Times the Times New Roman is over here. So always check, make sure it covers the place. Alright, so now once this has been done, you can copy it and paste it. Copy it and paste it. Then all you need to do is to change it as you want. So this is not going to be world context, but African context. African context. Then you can come and write, or you can come and paste it again, and you just try to change it to Ghana. So Ghana. There's no need to add the context again. So that's all. Nicely placed. So now one other significant thing to do is to try and add the skill at the bottom of each of the maps. So let's assume that we are going to have a skill written over there. So another thing we could do simply is just to um, copy and paste it over there so that we can just change it easily. So we can write scale, then we have 1:1:2. So now we check the properties to find the appropriate scale that is there. So this is the scale. If you want, you can adjust it to whatever you want, but this is just for practical sake. So we are going to copy it as we have zoomed and then we've gotten the size that we want. So that is what we are going to use. All right. So you can make this and you close it. It will be there. So now once this has successfully been done, you can now copy it. So after copying and pasting, so what we need to do is to make sure we drag it into space, right? Then we now also go to properties to determine the appropriate scale for that particular data frame. So this is the scale, so we just copy it and then close. So we try to pick up the old scale and put in the new scale. Right. So we can as well copy that or paste the old version of it. Yes, stop pasting. So we can copy it again. Then let's copy. We can place it over here. Now we try to determine the appropriate scale for this. That is the Ghana map. So we go to properties and this is the scale. So we copy it. And we go to properties to erase off the African context map scale. So we just cancel. So now we have everything in place. We have our north arrow, which is depicting for all the map. Then we have a labeling showing world context, African context with the appropriate skills. Then now what is left for us to do is to add it to the map. So simply what you go to do is to go and click on it, then you go to the properties. So you can drag out ratios. So you go and hit on add grades. So once you hit on grades, now we are going to determine how we are going to put it. So let's use an example. Grade. Grade. So now, if you want to use the map units, you just have one grade line showing because if you go to the Google Earth, you put the grades based on the normal grade, you realize that only one grade will be passing through Ghana. So now what we need to do is that we are going to change it from map unit, which is the projected coordinate system map unit, to millimeters. So if we are using millimeters, we can try to say let's use an interval of 50 and see what happens. 50, the grades, modify, so we change this as 50 as well. Then hit on the grades, modify. So let's do the mapping. We have only one there. And let's change it to diameters. So we are using 50 for X, 50 for Y, and then the interval, that's for the interval. And we are using millimeters for the grid, spacing. So now what we need to do is to scroll down. What we need to do is to scroll down to draw coordinates. So let's draw coordinates. Our coordinates are showing over there, so we can go adjust the map a little bit. You can adjust it. All right. So now what we need to do is to make sure that the grids align very well. They align. So now you come to the draw coordinates section and you see this left, here. So we come to change it from horizontal to vertical ascending. So you can see that it has changed to vertical. Then we come to the right as well and change it to, all right, everything has been changed. You can see that. Okay. So some of them are collapsing over there. All right. Yes. So, but let's assume that we don't want the great lines to be drawn over it. So now what we can do is change it to annotation and max. So we go to modify and change it from solid to frame and annotation only. Right. Now you see your coordinates, then you as well see your numbering. So let's look right to look at how best we can represent our grids. So you can use marker. To use marker, you see what to be there. Use this plus as the cross, and you use solid. So let's use the frame notation only, so that we don't have unnecessary great lines running over the map. Okay. So we are going to reduce the zeros to absolutely zero. So you realize that after changing it to zero, we don't have 0.00. No, we are taking it to zero. Yes, so we have 0, 50, 100. Then you can also change the font size, increase them a little bit so that they can be very visible. Then the second aspect is next. Okay, our map is well drawn. We have our coordinates, we have our grids. So now let's use arrows to show how the map flows. So now you go to add arrow, then you can point Um, let's zoom to Ghana. So you have Ghana up there. All right, you have your arrow. Then you can also add another one to show the flow. So you add one which will also depict that it is from Ghana in West Africa. Ghana, absolutely. Right. So we have from the world context to the African context, and then finally to Ghana. So basically, that is how you study area map. If you have any map to prepare that is for the purposes of the study, this is how you go about it. So thank you for following through, and you can watch and practice. If there's any challenges, then you get back to us. Thank you very much for your time.